to the Crawl Room. We're here once again in this wonderful ranty room for all things Formula One, and what an incredible race end to that Silverstone Grand Prix. Wow, oh wow, oh wow. An incredible, incredible race at the end there. That final safety car period, making everything all the more exciting than it already was. Absolutely incredible stuff. Before we get to the rundown, of course, I do just want to wish Zhou Guanyu and Alex Albon all the best. And it seems that Zhou Guanyu is actually fine after that massive, colossal accident at the start of the race. Alexander Albon has been taken to a hospital in Northampton for further observations. Him, of course, not being involved in the incident itself with Zhou, but as a result of all the cars checking up, Vettel tagged the back of him and he hit the wall quite hard on the right-hand side at turn 1, and it appears that he overloaded the G rating and he's been taken to hospital for further observation. So it's amazing to see that Zhou Guanyu is okay by the sounds of things. He's out, he's back in the paddock, he's talking, he's fine. You know, he seems to be relatively okay. I think he'll be a little bit stiff in the morning. And of course, best wishes to Alexander Albon as well, of course, for his any potential injuries he may have. Hopefully just light if he has got any at all. But yeah, best wishes to those guys. And a massive testament to Formula One for not only just introducing the halo, but for the safety in and around the circuit as well, to make sure that these drivers are kept safe for our entertainment. So if you've never seen this series before, I award the drivers out with a maximum of 10 points based on their race weekend's performance, and I go all the way down to 0 if they have a particularly bad one. Look out for bonus points though, because sometimes they are an offer for drivers that do something extra special during a race, and on the rare occasion I do award minus points as well for those drivers that do something extra special but for all the wrong reasons. Let's take a look at the current standings then on the Crawl Room. It's on the screen now for you. Take a look and see where your favourite driver is in the standings. And based on this race weekend's performance, can you see him going up or can you see him going down? I'm introducing a little new feature as well during this, so fingers crossed it works and it's a little bit easier for you to understand what's going on, but we'll wait and see anyway. So the first driver on this list is, of course, Carlos Sainz. Oh, Carlos, vamos, smooth operator. He's a smooth operator, like a lion. Indeed, indeedy do, like a lion. What a fantastic effort. Oh, hello, Carlos. What are you doing down there, my friend? Oh, you come to join me on the Crawl Room, have you? That's right, so people know who you are. Fantastic stuff. Came through via a recommendation on the previous Crawl Room as a guy watched the Monaco Grand Prix, really enjoyed it, the Crawl Room of that one, but wanted to see the drivers at the side of me. So there he is. There is Carlos Sainz. So here we go anyway. We're going to kick things off with Carlos. Oh, Carlos. Oh, amazing, absolutely amazing. I'm so happy for him. It was a pole position that didn't look like it was going to happen, was it? And then in the race we had that tough phase where Leclerc was a lot faster than him and he let him through and they held position, and team games weren't looking like they were working at the right times because Ferrari liked to bottle job it as always. But in the end, Carlos Sainz took charge of his own destiny. And he said, no guys, I am not dropping behind during this last safety car period. I need to stay within 10 car lengths of Leclerc, and me dropping behind him isn't right because we need to win this race. And he delivered the goods. Incredible stuff. And what a way to win your first Formula One race. From pole position, the last driver to take his first pole and first victory all in the same race is, of course, Pastor Maldonado, whoa, in 2012, the Spanish Grand Prix. So thank God someone's took him off that pedestal. But yeah, amazing stuff. So for Carlos Sainz, it wasn't all going his way this weekend, was it? But in the end, it played back into his hands. And because of the unluckiness he's had this season, and things just haven't gone his way in terms of strategy when he's delivered the goods, Ferrari have bottled it. It's nice to see it all come together for him at last, even though ultimately it wasn't the fastest car, but that is how racing works, and he's going to get 11 points from me. Absolutely fantastic stuff. Carlos, an amazing drive. Yeah, as mentioned, he didn't go all his own way. He had it tough. Leclerc looked faster, but that's racing, and he delivered the goods, and he thoroughly deserved to deliver the goods as well. So yeah, 11 points to Carlos Sainz. Next up is Checo! Sergio Perez. What a cracking race by Checo. He had damage at the start, didn't he? On the restart, of course. It was such a good drive by him. He was helped by the final safety car phase, of course. But on that pace after he pitted, he was on the medium tyres for a long time because he had to come in on lap 4 or lap 5, wasn't it? After the restart with that front wing damage. Pitted for the nose. The nose takes a lot longer on these bulkier wings than they do on the older spec cars. And he just delivered the goods. Pace was great. It was looking like he was on course for 5th. Then the safety car period came out prior to his final pit stop, which was perfect timing for him. Went on the soft tyres, made a great move around Hamilton. Hamilton came back at it. Then he made a great move around Leclerc, and it was all just this close to ending in disaster on every single overtake and re-overtake. But he drove so smart and so cleverly. If it had just got past Leclerc a couple of laps sooner, I'm sure he could have maybe gone for Sainz for the victory. But considering where he was, down stone dead last at the restart after he pitted for that nose, I think he'll take P2, and a very rewarding P2 as well. So for Checo Perez, it's going to be a full 10 points on the crawl room. Wonderful to see him come through. Qualifying wasn't the best. Race, you know, he did okay. He did a really good job. The damage and contact was unlucky, but he came through. And luck played on his side, and he deserves the 10 points because he didn't give up and he didn't surrender. So congratulations, Checo! Sergio Perez. He gets a full 10 points on the crawl room. In third place is Lewis Hamilton taking a podium at his home Grand Prix. Now it looks like, you know, as always, the previous God knows how many years he's won it, hasn't he? Apart from, was it 2018 he didn't win? But as soon, I mean, whenever he's been in Mercedes, he's won pretty much every one of them, hasn't he? So, you know, for Lewis Hamilton to finish third, it's still an amazing result with the car he's got. But that Mercedes car looked really good this weekend, didn't it? It looked like it could have been on pace. Before that final safety car period, could Lewis have won? Could Lewis have won? And we're never going to know that answer, unfortunately, because the safety car period came out. The car seemed to be a lot more comfortable on the medium tyres than they did on the hards and the softs. So we don't know. We're never going to know. That's the cards that Hamilton's been dealt with, and he still finished in third place, which is a mighty effort. Qualifying as well, of course, was really good. 5th place was solid. In fact, Mercedes were disappointed with that, with the wet conditions, that he qualified 5th. But made a great start on the first start, and on the second start he slipped back to 6th. But nonetheless, he came through the field, worked his way through, and was on course for a podium for the majority of that race. And in the end, he stayed there. Could it have maybe been a P2? Could it have been a victory? We're never going to know, but maybe. But nonetheless, a fantastic result for Lewis Hamilton, and picking up the fastest lap on the final lap as well. So congratulations to him for that. And it's a full 10 points to Lewis Hamilton. One of the best weekends he's had. It looked like Canada was a good one. He's built on that now, and he seems to have done a little bit better. The home crowd wooing him on, of course, which was great to see. And I just want to mention as well, on the podium, they were up there, and there were Checo's dad with Anthony Hamilton arms around him. It's like, oh, it's so cute. They were like, you know, I mean, Checo's dad's always happy with life, isn't it? Whenever his son's doing well, and it was nice to see Anthony Hamilton there as well. And they had the arms around each other. It was just so wholesome to see. So, yeah, fantastic stuff on and off the track there, and a great ending to the podium to see Lewis Hamilton taking P3 in front of his home crowd. 10 points to Lewis Hamilton. Then we come to sha-la-la, oh, sha-la-la, sacre bleu, sha-la-la. Oh, Ferrari bottle job strategy once again cost Leclerc a potential victory. What a shame, what a shame. I don't know why they didn't pit him in that second safety car period. They had no need not to. It wasn't as if the safety car was called just as he drove past the pit lane and the other cars went in. It was already there, and they elected him to stay out. Oh, that was just unfortunate, wasn't it? I'm sure there was enough gap between the two Ferraris as well for him to be able to double stack without hindering Sainz. And either way, even if it had hindered Sainz a little bit, it'd have still been on the fresher tyres to attack. So it was a real unfortunate situation there. And, you know, after the race as well, Leclerc jumped out. You could see he was a bit angry with him. Binotto was just there waiting for him. He was like shaking his hands like, you do not criticise the team in front of the cameras. And then when they got to when they got to the press pen finishing P4, they're like, what did Minotto want? It's like, oh, he just wanted to come cheer me up. Did he? Fuck. That finger wag was a finger wag of don't you dare say Ferrari have done anything bad ever because we pay you to be here. You finish P4. Stop complaining. You can shut the fuck up. You need to be happy for Carlos Sainz. You need to tell people you're happy for Carlos Sainz and that you love Ferrari no matter what. You're like, oh God, okay. It was getting right roasted. You could see that the language and the body language of Minotto and Leclerc certainly wasn't. Nah, come on, pal. We had a good race, didn't we? No, it was finger wagging and it was me meant business. So fantastic stuff. That was just a little bit naughty off the side there. But you know what? For Charles, I can understand his disappointment, and he rightfully is disappointed. That's potentially the second race this year they've lost as a result of a poor pit stop strategy. Monaco, of course, being the other. And this is not how you win championships. Not at all. So for Shalala, it's going to be 8 points on the crawl room. I think he had some great moments of pace there. Really, really did. And at the end, he was a sitting duck. Was lucky to finish P4 because Alonso and Norris were chomping at the bit at the end there as well, weren't they? But overall, it was just a shame. You know, it was all just a bit of a shame. And 8's probably harsh, to be fair, but what can I do? There's so many drivers doing so well this race, and I've got a lot of praise for a lot of drivers and a lot of criticism for others. But at the moment, it's 8 points to Shalala. And then we come to Fernando Alonso. What a cracking drive by Fernando there, taking 5th place and securing 10 points for his team. The Alpine team doing really, really well again this weekend. Shame for Ocon dropping out at the end there, of course. There'd have certainly been more points on offer had Ocon crossed the line, of course. But for Fernando Alonso, he was 6th throughout most of the race and running a comfortable, lonely 6th as well. Couldn't quite stay within Norris's range, but was able to hold back the likes of Vettel, etc. and drove really well in that sense. And then McLaren didn't pit Norris, so when they did bring him in the lap later after the safety car was called, it meant that Alonso got past him, and that's where he stayed ahead and was on the back of Leclerc at the end there. So nice to see Alonso doing well. Out-qualified Ocon as well. Was driving really clean in the race and driving where an Alpine belongs and picking up a big points haul for the Alpine team. So it's going to be a full 10 points. He scored 10 points in the race. He scores 10 points on the crawl room. A cracking effort there by Fernando Alonso, thoroughly deserving of a full 10 points on the crawl room, and that's the way it stays. And, you know, apologies if I'm not going into too much detail about the drives, but there was that much going on. I kind of forgot about pit stop strategies, etc. I was just fully focused on the racing and the battles up front, and it was great to see, wasn't it? So, yeah, the qualifying was good, decent qualifying for an Alpine, decent race, running in a really solid 6th, and takes 5th in the end due to strategy. Perfect. Full 10 points to Fernando Alonso. And then it's time for Lando Norris. What could be said for Lando's race? He was really, really good, wasn't he? At the first start, I think he maintained position. The second start, he ended up getting ahead of Hamilton briefly. Then Hamilton re-overtook him, and then he stayed 5th throughout. He stayed 5th throughout the race. Really good stuff. As mentioned in Alonso's rundown there, Norris had the option to pit, and I'm not sure whether he missed the pit lane, didn't get the radio call, or whether McLaren didn't want to pit him. But either way, something happened there, and he came in a lap after the safety car was called. And even though there was such a big gap between them, obviously people running to deltas, with the safety car and then being able to catch the safety car, it meant that Alonso jumped ahead of him, and then on the restart he was 6th and was not able to re-overtake Alonso to gain that 5th place back. They asked him, you know, what do you think about the strategy call? And he said it was both our faults, which makes me think that he misinterpreted maybe the pit options for him, and maybe the team didn't give him a clear, concise box now. That's the only thing I can think of at this time for him to say we're both responsible. But in the end, taking a cracking effort there with P6, a really, really good drive. His teammate's fucking nowhere again, is he? But we'll get to him in a minute. And yeah, thoroughly deserving of 9 points on the crawl. I'm going to knock him a point off for whatever that miscommunication was. But considering where the McLaren is, it's up and down at the minute, isn't it? And 6th place, overtaking Hamilton at the start for 4th, running 4th for a little bit, running 5th for 95% of the race. I think it's worthy of 9 points on the crawl room. So well done to Lando Norris. And then we come to Max Verstappen, finishing in P7. P7 for Max. It was so unusual. He must have sustained the damage on the floor. He did a great overtake on Carlos. A solid effort there to take the lead. And then no sooner had he took the lead, he went wide at Copse, didn't he? And then he got through the Maggotts and Beckett's section and was just about to head up to Hope They Hang Astray. And the car seemed to just not have any pace in it. It didn't slide, it didn't skid, it didn't do anything. But he just lost pace, and they said it were a puncture, so they brought him in early, or he thought it was a puncture anyway. And then in the race, he just never found the pace at all, which was unusual. And they said it was floor damage, but I can't understand how much, or a winglet or something. But like Leclerc was driving around with half a wing off on the end plate for the entirety of the race, and Perez had to pit with wing damage, and it suffered. It seemed to really hinder the Red Bull. So a really, really difficult race, and really lucky to finish 7th, actually, after being under attack from Mick Schumacher in the final couple of laps there at the end. So, yeah, for Max Verstappen, it's going to be 7 points on the Cruel Room. I don't think I can really do any fairer than that. Yeah, I don't know what to do. It's just a solid 7, isn't it? It's one of those. It's a difficult race to judge. He certainly deserved more than 5 because he had the pace this weekend. He should have won, and he didn't. And it seems like it's a really unusual issue. Something just so small falling off the car or slightly braking hampered him so much. So there we go. Solid 7 to Max Verstappen. Finishing P7. You never know, come the end of the season, these 6 points could be the crucial points that win him the championship. But yeah, for now, that's racing. It's not gone his way at Silverstone once again this year. And there we go. Solid 7 to Max. And then we come to Mick Schumacher. He scores points and he gets 4 of them in one go. What an incredible effort by Mick. I'm so happy for him. Yeah, thoroughly deserving. Thoroughly deserving, Mick. Deserves a solid 4 points. He's been looking on the cards for so long. Miami was his best chance and he bundled that, didn't he? And then he started battling with Max, and I'm thinking, go for it, get 6 points. And then my mum and dad are like shouting, no, just keep 8th, just keep 8th, we know what you like. And in the end he came within a couple of tenths in the end, wasn't it? But he was fractions away at one stage from securing that 7th place over the line, but it didn't quite happen. But to score 4 points for Haas after a difficult qualifying down in 19th in the wet weather, it's a great recovery. I know there's been a lot of contact and a lot of cars retiring, but he had to put himself in that position. He was running 10th for a long time as well, so for him to finish P8, stunning effort. And for Mick Schumacher, I'm going to award him 9.5 on the Cruel Room. He's not quite getting a perfect 10 just because of the qualifying being so poor in P19, and just because that I don't want to go jumping up and down for an effort that he should have had a few races ago. Like, we should have celebrated his first points in Miami, and it's come at Silverstone, so there's a big gap there of races where it should have happened and hasn't. He's been the bridesmaid on quite a few occasions, finishing 11th. So yeah, I don't think he fully deserves a perfect 10 considering the drivers I have given 10s to, but I don't want to take anything or criticise Mick in any way, shape or form. It's just been that fraction too long for him to secure these points for me to, give him a little bit of a peg down from a perfect 10. But nonetheless, impressed to see. I was so chuffed for you, and congratulations, Mick Schumacher. 9.5 to you. Then we come to Sebastian Vettel and, Aston Martin. I don't know what they did. Did they pit him for those medium tyres at the end? I couldn't quite work it out, but either way, he was running 7th for a long time, wasn't it? And then in the end, he ends up 9th, and I'm sure they pitted him and then put him on the mediums for some reason. Which, I mean, to be fair, the soft tyres either work or they don't work, but with 10 laps left to go, you go soft. A bit of a silly error, that one. But nonetheless, I think Seb had a great drive. It was great to see him hugging Mick at the end of the race there. He parked up behind him and they just get out of the car and give each other a big hug. It's like, oh, God, it's so cute. But yeah, for Sebastian Vettel, it's going to be 8 points on the Cruel Room. A couple of points for Aston Martin, which were crucial considering it's a double points finish for Haas. I do think Haas retake 8th in the Constructors, though, with that, but we'll have to wait and see. Yeah, nonetheless, though, a cracking drive by Sebastian Vettel. I think the strategy there got him in the end. But nonetheless, 8 points on the Cruel Room. Fantastic effort. The last of the points finishers is, of course, Kevin Magnussen. And what a great drive by K-Mag. Again, he came from the depths of 17th, didn't he, in the race start? Qualifying was very, very poor for him. and did a really good job, actually. Did a really, really good job to secure that 1 point in the end. They put him on the mediums, and he stayed out on them. So he was 8th at the safety car restart and ended up finishing 10th. So to stay inside the points was incredibly lucky for K-Mag, and some great driving as well. I'm sure there'd have been some great defensive driving, because there was the likes of Ricciardo and Latifi and Tsunoda on the back of him at the end there. So he fended them off quite well, considering he got really old tyres compared to everyone else. So it was pretty much like doing what Leclerc did up front. He lost a couple of places, but in the end secured that point he needed. So a cracking effort by Haas, a double point score. That's the first of the year, of course, and the first since... When's the last point? When the last time that Haas had a double points finish? Probably 2018? I don't think it happened in 2019, did it? Maybe it did. But either way, 2018 for definite, maybe 2019, but I think that's a bit of a stretch. But it's been a long time coming, and the car has had pace. In qualifying, it looked like, oh God, here we go again. Haas are going to be crapping at the back. And no, we secure 5 points total. Cracking effort. So for Kevin Magnussen, it's going to be 8 points on the crawl room to him as well, of course. Not as good as his teammate this weekend, apart from in qualifying. In the race, Mick was ahead of him for quite a lot of it and outscored him. But when all's said and done, 5 points, no matter how it comes for Haas, will be richly deserved and thoroughly rewarded. And they can have a nice party tonight in Silverstone. I hope they enjoy it. Congratulations, Haas. Based in the UK, of course, or half of the team is based in the UK, the other half in the US. So the UK half can certainly have a big party tonight. Congratulations, K-Mag. 8 points on the crawl room to you. Next up, we come to the second Aston Martin that finished just outside the points, and it is, of course, Lance Stroll.
I know I wasn't the best, but at least I never crashed twice in the space of 3 corners like Stroll did in Baku.
Palmer of the week for Lance. It had to be, I'm afraid. It had to be. Vettel was running around in the points for the most part of the race. In fact, pretty much all of it, wasn't he? And finished in the points. And here's Stroll finishing 11th. You think, oh, okay, that's not bad, but shit. Really shit. Vettel was stung by strategy. Stroll was stung by himself being shit. Qualified dead last and was 8/10 off 19th, which was Mick Schumacher. I mean, that's fucking dreadful. That is dreadful, to be 8/10 off a Haas and qualifying dead last. And apparently you're the master in the wet. Because you had a front row start at Monza that weren't really a front row start. You actually qualified 5th, but there were penalties ahead for Red Bulls and a Ferrari, is that if I remember rightly, back in 2018 or something like that, 2017. Either way, it's shit. And it just annoys me, it just totally annoys me that he's there on the grid and he's fucking crap. He has one good race. I mean, to be fair, he's not been bad this year, but he's suddenly taken a massive nosedive in these last couple of races and really, really, really doesn't deserve to be on the grid. So he's annoying me now, and it's another Palmer of the week to him. What a douchebag. So yeah, there we go. Palmer of the week to Lance Stroll. Next up, we come to Mr. Saturday. It's Nicholas Latifi. Well, it's Mr. Saturday on this one occasion anyway. I don't think he's going to be quite doing a George Russell, getting that Williams car into Q2 and Q3 on regular basis. But here he is, qualifying in P10, having a storming start on the first start, initially up to P8, and in the race was running around in 9th, 10th throughout most of it. And it just all kind of went wrong at the end, and I'm not sure what happened, but he slipped down from his 10th place pedestal. He was 11th, wasn't he? I think basically the Hasses got him, was what happened there. Mick on fresher tyres, and K-Mag electing to stay out, and he couldn't get round him. So finishing in P12, but you know what? It's been one of the best races we've seen of him this year. Compared to Albon's car and Latifi's car looked like it was in the Stone Age. Albon's had so many updates. Latifi's had none, and coming into this weekend, he said, oh, it's a bit unfair that I've not got anything. I kind of sided with him, to be honest. But then, where does he qualify? P10, into Q3 for the first time for Williams this season, for the first time since George, probably early 2021. So, a cracking effort by Latifi to do that, and then to maintain that throughout the race. Of course, in the end, he slipped down and was outside the points, which was really, really unfortunate. But do you know what? He had a Williams at the end of the day, and I think he did a solid job. He did a solid job. So congratulations, Nicholas Latifi, and you're scoring 8 points on the crawl room. Cracking effort. Well pleased with that. That was your best race this year. But we need to get to understand now that we can't get complacent. He's had a good run of doing okay and being the least shittest on the grid for quite a number of races, but this time around, he needs to stay doing this now. You know, the weather helped him, but we need a Q2 appearance in dry conditions at any circuit. You know, if he gets the updates next week in Austria or the week after, Albon's still getting into Q2s, etc., then he needs to be there as well. We can't just have this one fluke, call him a superstar, and he can fuck off again for a season. It can't happen. He's got to maintain this level of performance now, and I'm not expecting Q3s, but at least to get into Q2s, say 2 out of 4 races. Every 2 out of 4 races, he needs to get into Q2. And if Albon's doing 3 out of 4 races, then you're kind of on par there, you know. Those Williams cars need to move up together now, not just Albon breakaway. Latifi have one fluke and call it done. Can't happen. But yeah, Nicholas Latifi, I was very, very, very pleased for him on Saturday. Disappointed they didn't pick up a point this weekend, but came close, didn't he? So yeah, 8 points to Nicholas Latifi. And next up is the second of the McLarens. It is, of course, Daniel Ricciardo.
I wonder what's more likely, me returning to Formula 1 or Ferrari not bottling a championship.
And all I can say to that is, thoroughly deserved and close to being disqualified now on the crawl room. Daniel Ricciardo, piss poor effort. Piss poor. We've got Lando running as high as 4th briefly, consistently inside the top 5 until the end, finishing 6th. And he's a bit disappointed with that. Daniel Ricciardo did not drive within the points at any phase of that race. It was absolutely shambolic from him. He was crap. Absolute dog shit. That was terrible. Palmer of the week is a light get off really. I was close to disqualifying him now, but I've decided that he will have Austria to prove himself, and if nothing happens in Austria of anything special, you know, even if he scores 2 points or something with 9th or 10th, if Lando's up there and delivering a 4th and 5th place finish again, he's gone. He needs to be behind Lando, if not ahead of him, for him to survive now. So this is his final warning and his final Palmer of the week he will get. He won't get another Palmer now. He will be either scoring points because he's had a good race, or he will be disqualified. That's all I'm going to say about Daniel Ricciardo now, because that was pathetic. That was a shambolic effort. He was outraced by Latifi this weekend and outqualified by him, and he was outdriven by pretty much 99% of the field. So there you go. Pathetic effort. Daniel Ricciardo, it's so close to disqualification now. Palmer of the week this time around. Next up we have Yuki Tsunoda.
I got black flag from a banger race over the weekend. Apparently I wasn't going fast enough to cause a crash. Whoops.
There we go. Another Palmer of the week to Yuki Tsunoda, who we believe will be holding on to his contract for next year at least, but will remain to be seen after he made contact with Pierre Gasly. And did Gasly retire as a result of the contact? We're not 100% sure. I'm sure they got black and orange flagged though, didn't he? Which means there's something wrong with that car that you need to rectify, which could be flailing bodywork, rear floor perhaps, retired as a result of that. But nonetheless, he was running round quite well. They were running both cars inside the top 10. He went for a lunge up the inside of his teammate, spun, tagged him, spun Gasly, spun himself round, and spun himself down to last place and last of the finishers, and that is where he stayed for the remainder of the race, not making any further progress. And he is getting the same warning as Daniel Ricciardo. You do not improve, you will be disqualified. He's got Austria now and the rest of the season. Like with Ricciardo, no more Palmers from now on. This is the last one he'll ever get. It's either points or nothing. That's it. I'm sick of him now. Do you know what? He's such a lovely guy, great guy, seems to, you know, be so friendly within the paddock. Doesn't matter. Ricciardo's a friendly guy as well. They're both doing shite, and I cannot stand it anymore. I've disqualified drivers for less in previous years, and I really am putting my foot down now. They were both pathetic this weekend. Tsunoda was doing better than Ricciardo, admittedly, but then he went and hit his teammate. You know, you could say, well, at least Tsunoda was close enough to hit his teammate. Ricciardo was fucking miles off. But they were both threw it away massively, and not for the first time this year. This is probably, what is it, 5th or 6th Palmer or something ridiculous for Tsunoda. I can't quite remember now. It might even be less, because Mick had a bad run, didn't he? But nonetheless, Tsunoda, fed up of it, last chance saloon now. He needs to deliver for the rest of this year, and he will not have another Palmer. He will be disqualified if he has one more shit race. So there we go, Palmer of the week, and a final warning to Yuki Tsunoda. Then we come to the run of retirements, and it's going to be quick and brief. You know how it goes with the retirements. So the first retirement on this list, the last in the race, of course, was Esteban Ocon, that caused that final safety car period. He's going to get 5 points, middle of the row 5. They can only score a maximum of 5, can the retirements, except for one. We'll get to them in a second, of course. But yeah, Ocon was running a great race until that point. Looked to have loads of pace. He done a good overtake on Max Verstappen and then broke down. So really, really unfortunate in that sense. There we go. One of those things, unfortunately. So 5 points to Esteban Ocon. Next up is Pierre Gasly. As mentioned, he got a black and orange flag, must return to pits. There's something wrong with that car that we're not happy about, that you need to rectify, and they retired the car, and that was not long after he got took out by his teammate. So middle of the row 5 to Pierre Gasly. That was a disappointing way for his race to end. He was running around in, I think it was 7th and 8th at the time for AlphaTauri, so with all the chaos and carnage that went on, they could have easily been staying there, maybe even a little bit higher up. Gasly wasn't to blame. He was taken out and then retired as a result of something mechanical or something bodywork related. Could it have been from the contact? Possibly. Could it have been something else? We don't know. We don't know at the end of the day, but yeah, not Gasly's fault at all why the car retired. So middle of the row 5 to him. Then we come to Valtteri Bottas, an unlucky race weekend for Alfa Romeo. Big damage, of course, to Zhou's car and mechanical failure for Bottas. He actually came into the pits during the pit stop phase, didn't he? And everyone thought, oh, he's in the pits. And then we saw him just parked up, no one around it, and he's just going, oh, okay. Like, it was out, that was it. So a mechanical problem for Bottas. He was running around 7th, 8th at the time. Again, with all the craziness that happened, he could have maybe done a little bit better, got into the top 5, top 6 perhaps, could have been that Alonso-Norris battle for sure. So yeah, very unfortunate for Alfa Romeo and for Valtteri Bottas, and again, it's a middle of the row 5 to Valtteri Bottas. And then we come to George of the Russell. Watch out for that top 5. Sadly, at his home Grand Prix this weekend, he suffers his first retirement, which is a massive blow to him. You know, he'd have been looking for another top 5 at least in front of his own fans, give them something to cheer and wave about. But it wasn't to be, was it? Potentially, George could have got that car back to the pit lane after the red flag. He had a rear puncture. In fact, his rear wheel had come off, hadn't it, at some point. In fact, I think the rim was still attached. But either way, he had the option. He spun round and he was looking forward to go again. And he saw the barrel rolling Zhou off into and behind the tyre wall. And he elected to turn the engine off, jump out and look after Zhou. Go and see if he was all right. He went straight over the wall. Straight over to see if he was fine, and do you know what? That was massively respectful sportsmanship there. He lost the engine of the car, then was unable to restart it to get it back to the pits, went back into the pit lane and was asking the Mercedes team, look, how can I do this? What can I do to try and restart it? And by the time he'd come back, the car was on the low loader, and that was it. He was not able to restart the race, despite the fact the car went back to the pit lane, and it was a big, big disappointment. But it was selflessness in that situation, wasn't it? You know, he didn't cause the accident, although he did, didn't he? He kind of went over and did cause the collision, but it was 3 into 1 wouldn't go. There was a gap that was closing there. It was massively unfortunate. And although he did potentially start the chain of events, it wasn't fully his fault. It was a racing incident into turn 1 that's high speed. And you know what? He jumped out that car without any thought for his own race or his own safety at that point as well. There were still cars going everywhere. And he went to go and assist Zhou Guanyu in whatever he needed. And I thought that was massively respectful of him. So yeah, potentially cost himself a restart there. We're never going to know what the extent of the damage was on that Mercedes. But nonetheless, for that reason alone, it's 5 points, of course, for the retirement. And he's getting 5 bonus points for the massive respect that he showed to his fellow racer. He was really respectful there, and I got a lot of respect for him for that. So thank you so much, George, for that, and I'm sure Zhou's incredibly grateful for it. And, you know, you cost yourself your race potentially there. Maybe there was too much damage. We're never going to know. But at the end of the day, that was a massively respectful thing to do, to leap out the car, go straight through the gravel trap, straight over to the tyre barriers, and go see that your fellow sportsman was okay. So yeah, it's 5 points for the retirement and a bonus 5 points for the massive respect shown to your fellow racer. congratulations, George, well done, and bravo. Then, of course, we come to Zhou Guanyu, which unfortunately sustained in that accident. At the end of the day, it was just nice that he was okay. It was nice to know that he was okay. So it's a middle-of-the-road 5, and we look forward to seeing him back next week in Austria. All being well, fingers crossed. As mentioned, discharged from the medical centre, was back in the paddock speaking with Fred Vasseur, the team boss of Alfa Romeo, speaking with the commentators, with the pundits. So nice to see, and fingers crossed, like I say, he's going to be sore in the morning, but wow, the Halo did its job. I think there's going to be some question points over the anchoring points to the roll hoop on that Alfa Romeo, because that failed, which was looked a little bit scary, did that. The roll hoop rarely fails and can normally handle a lot, but it seems like the Halo took a lot more this time around. So yeah, Zhou Guanyu, middle of the road, 5 points to him, and wish him a speedy recovery with his soreness. I'm sure he will be sore in the morning, and fighting fit for Austria. Cannot wait for that. And I hope he continues to deliver these fantastic qualifying results, and I hope the luck comes his way in Austria to get a fantastic race result as well. And last on this list, of course, was Alexander Albon, involved in some respects in the Turn 1 incident. As mentioned, Bottas ahead of him lifted off the throttle because there was cars everywhere. He lifted off the throttle. Vettel on site had tagged the back of him, and he had heavy contact into the right-hand wall at the start-finish straight just before Turn 1. As mentioned at the start of the video, taken to a local hospital in Northampton for further observations and checks. I don't know one word on that yet, but of course he got out of the car under his own steam. He was walking around the paddock. He was okay in that sense. So again, maybe just a little bit battered and bruised, a little bit winded. And again, wish him all the best, and I hope he is fighting fit as well for Austria, where he can deliver some cracking results. For Alexander Albon, it's going to be 4 points on the cruel room, just knocking him a little point off for the poor qualifying, where his teammate got through into Q3. He was out in Q1, unfortunately, and based on that, you know, maximum of 5 I can give him. I'm going to give him 4. But again, fully hoping he's fighting fit for Austria, which I'm sure he will be. I'm sure there's no doubt about that. And once again, thank you to the FIA for introducing all the safety measures, the circuits, the marshals, and everyone involved at Silverstone this weekend for making sure that the drivers were safe and were able to come home today. So there we have it. Ended on a slightly sombre affair there with the 2 drivers at the end, of course. But nonetheless, thank you so much for watching, guys. Let me know your thoughts and feedback down below. Did I score any drivers too high, any too low? The updated Cruel Room standings are on the screen now for you to have a look at. See who you think's gone up, who's gone down. Do you agree? Are you liking who's at the top? Are you liking who's down at the bottom? It's all tight everywhere, isn't it? The points gap is closing everywhere. There's so much going on. So many races left for this all to change. A massive thank you, as always, to Dan of Mushy Gaming for providing me with this Cruel Room scoreboard. Without him, this series will be more pointless than it already is. And a massive thank you as well always goes to Dave, F1 Games PlayStation, for the Jolie and Palmer skits that you all know and love. I've used 3 up. I'm sure I'm due some more, Dave. I'll put another order in with you soon. So thanks a lot for watching, guys. I'll see you all in 1 week's time. I'll see you next Monday for the Austrian Grand Prix Cruel Room, 6 PM. Don't miss it. I'm sure it's going to be an exciting race weekend, as always, and I'll give my thoughts in another exciting rundown, I hope. Let me know what you thought to the changes at the side as well, of course. Sticking the drivers here. Took me a little bit more editing to do. I'm doing that before I did that, but I know it will take me quite a little bit more time. And yeah, I hope you enjoyed it. So thank you so much for watching, guys, and for the continued support. See you all next week, and much love.